Hello, hello. Welcome to Philosophy with Z. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Welcome to another episode as we continue on our journey of What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. I'm going to get it pretty soon. I'm going to get it. So, are you still on the edge of your seat from last week? Well, this chapter 2, is called The Answers. The Answers is in quotations because he says there are countless self-help books that have all the answers. They'll have you believing that they have the secret to success. And he said that he spent more than 20 years studying most of these literature of success. All kinds of promises waiting around the corner. And he said that he learned that he can be hypnotized, processed, and reborn, not in the religious sense. But he said he attended seminars which gave him the answer, and he became a goal setter, a true achiever. Learned how to organize his day, set priorities, and accomplish more than he ever dreamed possible. And he thought maybe if I learned to think positively, be more creative, relate to others, or become more centered, then maybe I can achieve all of my dreams and greatness. And he's had all of the most wise words sung to him. But even after learning all of these things, he was still a skeptic, still skeptical. Because if there's so many keys to success, then why aren't they working? Why do they seem to only work for some people and not others? Or, this has been my experience, having read a great book or gone to a seminar or watched a really good YouTube video, I'm like, this is it. I'm going to change everything. My life is going to be different. I'm going to accomplish everything I've ever wanted to. And then like a couple weeks, a couple months later, I forget that any of that was even said. I forget that that was even a part of my reality at all. Like, it's kind of, it's not embarrassing because it's a common thing that happens among people. So I really just feel like I'm normal, actually. So he's like, what is that about? Why do we get so like motivated and inspired and we want to go do this thing, take the knowledge from these pages or take that seminar and like really want to apply it to our lives, but after a short time frame everything just goes back to the way it was? And even worse, sometimes it goes back even worse. Like, it's like we end up worse off than we were before we went to the thing, before we read the thing. Like, for example, you go to a pep rally and it's all rah, rah, rah. Or you're at work and they have some guy come in and help you out with some stuff and things get better for a while. But he realized that this is just not how the brain works. All these ideas and techniques that should work, they could work, but that's not how the brain works. Not just randomly one day and taking a bunch of good stuff and then suddenly applying it. That's not how we work. Our brain, though, you have to know how to treat it. You have to know how to work with your brain. So if we give it direction, it will follow. And that's just how it is. But if we give it the wrong direction, it will still follow it, although it's the wrong direction. So this is where everything just like exploded for me, because it's like a GPS. Like, for example, I was with a friend in Northern Connecticut and she put my address in the GPS. And after like 30 minutes, we realized we were getting farther away from Connecticut. And we looked again and my exact address existed in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. So because we were closer to the Massachusetts address, it just assumed that's where we were going. So the GPS was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, but it was the wrong direction. We just programmed it in. And that's exactly what's going on in our brains. We have inadvertently been programmed to go the wrong direction. So, this next part, he says that if you grew up in a fairly average, reasonably positive home, you were told no 148,000 times. And that's a fairly average, reasonably positive. Honestly, that's not even most households. Like, fairly average, reasonably positive. Those are all words that didn't exist in my household. Like, we were faithful people. Like, we went to church and there was a lot of prayer and stuff, but there was still a lot of no's. No, you can't do that. No, we can't go there. No, we can't afford that. No, we're not getting this. A lot of no's. So, if you were a little more fortunate, you may have been told no only like 100,000 times, maybe 50,000. But those are still pretty big numbers. So, this is the programming. So, like, whatever the case may be, this is a considerable large amount of no programming as compared to how often we heard yes. So, after we have heard this over and over and over and over for years, this is what we think. This is what we believe. Because whatever is repeated is what becomes the programming. So the negative programming that we received and still receive was unintentional on our own parts. We didn't ask for it. It came from parents, schoolmates, teachers, like people on the bus drivers, daycare providers, people walking down the street, like store clerks, even on the news. Oh my gosh. It actually says in here, this was in 1986, I mind you. He says that 77% of everything, 75% of what's on the news is negative. Oh no, okay, my bad. I don't feel like redoing this, so scratch that. I made a mistake. 77% of what we think is negative, counterproductive, works against us. And think about how much we see on the news. How much on the news is negative? Like disasters and people killing each other and people getting shot and violence and sickness and kidnapping. Like all of these things. Like I know they exist in the world. I know. But what good does it do to just keep telling us about it every single day, multiple times a day? Like the news be on all day. There's some stations where it's only news. I haven't watched the news in years, honestly. I just stopped. And it's fine that I don't, because so many people watch the news. They just tell me what's going on. But I don't have to sit there and be programmed by it. So once again, I appreciate the people who are out there doing the stuff that I don't want to do, because I need it, but not to that extent. So, it's crazy. He also says that 75% of all illnesses are self-induced, because what you think about, you bring about. But it's wild because we don't even know what we're thinking half the time. 98% of the time. Have you ever heard that statistic or whatever it is, that 98% of our lives is lived unconsciously? We're just kind of walking around like zombies, more or less. It's pretty amazing. So we end up just kind of living ways that we don't know that we're doing. It's just we've been programmed the wrong way, and we're just doing it. We're just doing that damn thing. And we didn't ask for it. But it's crazy because we just believe it to be true. It's we believe it to be true to the extent that there's no other option. And that's why I'm coming out here and sharing myself and being vulnerable and talking about my experiences and talking about these books, because we are allowed to change our minds. It just takes effort. Not even that much effort, honestly. It takes repetition. And that's the thing. The instances of effort are minimal, but the amount of times is a lot. He even says repetition is a convincing argument. So that's why we eventually believed what we were told growing up. And it got like, it bled into every area of my life, of our lives. That, like, you're telling me, no, we can't afford this vacation or this dinner or this movie. But it became, we can't afford anything. That's just how I took it, because everything is everything. So when we can't afford this, we can't afford that, or that, or that, or that. So the end result is that it just becomes our thoughts, and it becomes applied to everything. And this next part, he says, this is a Bible passage, and it's, as a man thinketh, so is he. And he was kind of like, what does that mean? Like, how could that possibly, like, how could I be what I'm thinking? Like, he didn't get that at first. And I didn't either. I remember someone said that to me when I was younger, maybe like 15. And I was just like, no, these are my thoughts. This is my body. There's no way they're connected. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure a lot of people probably think that too, because I know I definitely did. Like, you couldn't convince me that what I'm thinking about affected anything in my life, in my body, in my spirit, in the world around me. I would have never thought that my thoughts had any impact. As a matter of fact, for years, I just thought that I didn't matter at all. I really would say, like, it's okay, I don't matter. Like, do whatever you want to do. I'll go along for the ride. And I kind of adopted that mentality because in my household, I felt like my siblings and everyone else mattered more. Like, what they had going on was more important. And it was fine because, like, I had my dad that would take me to stuff and show up for me to my shows. Like, I thought that it was fine. Even though I didn't matter in this one area, I mattered in other areas. And after my dad died, it was a lot jarring to me spiritually and emotionally. And I was like, yep, I officially don't matter. God doesn't care about me. Nobody cares about me. I'm just going to go do whatever I want. And so began my journey of addiction and just like being crazy. So, well, not to say that people with addiction is crazy, but it is a crazy lifestyle. So I digress a little bit. But the point is just that I told myself so many times when I was a kid that I don't matter because actions around me made me think that. So whether or not it was true, I don't know. But I said it enough to make it true for me. But eventually, back to the book, eventually he kind of came to believe this to be true, that what you think about, you are. He said that they did, some neuroscientists unlocked some secrets of the human mind by seeing how scientifically this is correct. So by an incredibly complex psychological mechanism, the body, brain, and mind become the living result of our own thoughts. And that is just so amazing. This was in 1986. And like now in 2021, apparently they've been able to like look at an MRI and literally see the amount of negative and positive neurons in our brains. They like cluster up in the prefrontal cortex. They can literally see them and count them. So when they do that and they see more positive neurons than negative, then person's thoughts tend to be positive. And if they see more negative neurons than positive neurons, then that person tends to think more negative thoughts. And like, it is what it is, but it is not always going to be what it is now. We have the ability and the responsibility, honestly, to change that. But that's a little farther down. That's a few weeks away on this journey. So he's talking about our mental programming. And basically, every step we take, every move we make is affected by our conditioning, our programming, what we expect coming from within us, like our beliefs coming from within us. Everything is affected by that. And he says, like, basically how successful you'll be at anything is tied to the words and beliefs about yourself that you have stored in your subconscious mind. Oh my God, think about what your life could be if you were just simply thinking differently. Like, what would the future hold if you, oh, the way he says it, let me find it real quick. If you were given, like, he's like a double dose of confidence and, okay, pause momentarily. What would your future hold? Oh, if you had been given an extra helping of self confidence, double the amount of determination, and twice the amount of belief in the outcome. Could you imagine how easy tasks would be? Like, how easy it would be to do things if you had extra help, extra self confidence, extra determination, and extra belief? Truly, all of those things are just thoughts. They're almost like there's this verse that um hope is the faith is the evidence of things not seen, and um oh my gosh, I can't remember. Hope or faith is the evidence of things not seen and the assurance of something. I don't recall. But I know that someone out here watching and listening knows what I'm talking about. And you can just put those words into a research thing, like, I don't want to say the word, but Google. You can just put those words into something like that and you'll be able to find it, I promise you. So that that's what these are. Like, hope, self-confidence, determination, and belief are all abstract concepts that are really just that have no form, but within us they can create so much. And like the opposite of that, words like fear and doubt and no and unsure, uncertain, impossible, all of those are equally as abstract, but they create something within us that can destroy things. When applied to life, they can destroy. So it's not that people are luckier or more well off. It's just that they have different programming. And granted, if you grow up with this kind of programming, that puts you in a better position sooner in life, but it's never too late. I know people who are 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that are changing their lives, whether it be in NA and recovery or it be like in my other networks. People are changing their lives at any age. I'm grateful that I'm figuring this out today, and I'm so excited to see what my future is going to become, just because I'm putting in effort every day, just a little bit. So your success or failure in anything large or small will depend on your programming, what you accept from others, and what you say to yourself when you talk. The brain simply believes what you tell it the most. And what you tell it about you, it will create. It has no choice. That's just the way it literally works. And it's interesting because this is like a combination of like brain and mind and spirit. Not really physical. But the physical is the outcome. The physical is the manifesting. So it's like all of these things come together and they really create something so much more. Oh, and he talked about people of religions, how they're devout believers and they believe in all the same truth. And it's kind of inevitable. Like, when you believe in anything, it will come to pass. But when he understood like the scientific aspect of this and how programming works, that changed everything for him. He officially was like, oh yeah, I know what's up. I can do this. I can make some changes. So he begins working on overriding his old programming and replacing it with specific word for word new programming. And the brain must follow. So I'm going to end this by saying he figured it out. He got the answer, the solution. And it's so important to understand that our brain is just mental machinery, and it is following a guideline. It's following a rule, a pattern. And what we say when we talk to ourselves is the most important over all else. And the repetition is everything as well. So I do want to add a little pin, that on this journey of changing our minds, be patient and love yourself in the process, because you have years, like thousands of days that you have practiced being who you became today. And that's awesome. You are here and you are living life and you made it this far. So you've been doing something right. So celebrate yourself where you are today and be patient with yourself on this journey of change. Because it's not going to be that easy. It's simple stuff, but it's not that easy. So just stay on course and be consistent and work on you one day at a time, because you're worth it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, if you need me, you know where to reach me, abstractlogic.me, or just write a comment or send a message on social media, anything like that. I'm here for you. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Peace, love, and blessings.